Just a reminder to vote in this week's Locals poll, where you decide what deck I take to Locals every single week. Without any further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and today we have the deck profile for the deck that I took to Locals a couple weeks back, being Dragunity. We did okay, we just played casual games, and you might notice the camera's a little more shaky than normal, and that's because we're actually getting ready to move here at the end of the month, and my wife packed my tripod, and I have no idea where she put it, so I'm just having to hold it in one hand and then record in the other. But here's a look to what the deck looks like on paper, then we'll get to the card by card. Alright, so starting off with the monsters, we have one copy of Dragunity Armagram, and then I guess I'll go ahead and just talk about this one as well. Two copies of Dragunity Arma Mistletoe. So these are your high-level dragon monsters. So this one can summon itself by banishing two from your graveyard, two Dragunities from your graveyard, and then it can target a monster, permanently negate it. Then if it runs over something by battle, it equips it to itself, so that's really nice. Mistletoe is an extender, so if your ducks get hit with Valor or Imperm, then you can just tribute this to keep going in your combo, so it's just an extender, because it equips the tuner, which special summons itself, and then you can synchro play. Or if you're unlucky like me, your ducks gets Valored, and then this gets hit with Imperm, so that was unfortunate. But next is two copies of Dragunity Legatus. So this is an extender as well. If you control a Dragon Ravine or a Dragunity monster, you can special it from your hand. And then it does have a spell trap removal effect if you have a monster in your spell and trap zone. So that's nice, being able to provide interruption mid-combo. We're also running two copies of Dragunity Senatus. So you can discard a Dragunity to equip one from the deck. So if you don't have any of your normal starters, this guy can serve as your backup. That's basically all he's used for. Next is, of course, the main Dragunity guy, being Dragunity Ducks. When normal summon, he equips a Dragon-type Dragunity monster from your grave to it. That's, of course, going to be one of your tuners that you use to go into your synchro plays. These next two monsters are ones you only really use if you have to, being Legionnaire and Guizarm. So basically, these go through the level 7 way, because there is a way you can climb into the Synchro 10 with these guys, but you normally don't want to do that unless you have to. So this one, he basically has the exact same effect as Ducks, where he just equips one from the grave. Then this is a level 3 tuner. It special summons itself when it's in spell and trap zone. And then it also specials a Wind Wing Beast from your graveyard when normal summoned. So that's a way we can go into some of our synchro climbing there. Next is the main tuner that you're going to want to be equipping, being Dragunity Koos. So it has a continuous effect where if it's used for a synchro summon, you can treat it as a level 2 or a level 4. So that's really nice. And then, of course, it can non-once per turn special summon itself from the spell and trap zone. Next, two copies of Dragunity Remus. So you can discard this card in order to add the field spell from your deck to your hand. And then if you have a Dragunity monster on your field, you can special summon it from the grave, but banish it when it leaves the field. So this can serve as both a starter and an extender. Very nice. Next, two copies of Dragunity Phalanx. This one, so this is the old level 2 Dragunity tuner that was used a lot before Koos came out. But I still run two of it because it can, at the very worst, serve as discard fodder. Or you can use it, if you already have, like, say, a Koos engrave, you can use Senatus to equip this from the deck. So you're thinning your deck, getting this out of it, and then still synchroing. So I like to have it as just a backup. The final monster we're going to talk about is the one you absolutely do not want to draw, being Dragunity Brandistock. And so you want to equip this from the deck with a card effect, because while it's equipped to a monster, that monster can attack twice during the battle phase. So turning one of your guys into a double attacker is always very nice. And that's it for the monsters. So moving on to the spells, we have 3 copies of Cards of Consonance. So of course we have a lot of low attack power dragon tuners, so having this draw power is just really, really nice. We're also running 1 terraforming to search the spell, as well as 1 burial from a different dimension. Some of the card effects actually banish from the grave that we'll get into later, so putting monsters back in the graveyard as fuel for those effects is always very nice. And then also it helps mitigate the cost for Armagram. Next, 3 copies of Dragon Ravine. So this is the field spell. It is a non-hard once per turn, so you can so if you draw 2 copies of Dragon Ravine, you can activate both in the same turn. But for each copy, it says once per turn in your main phase, you can discard a card to activate one of the effects. You can either search a Dragunity monster from deck to your hand, as long as it's level 4 or lower, or you can send a dragon monster from your deck to the grave. So it's basically either a Rhoda or a Foolish Burial. Or like I said, since it's not once per turn, if you draw 2, you can do both in the same turn if you want. Next, 2 copies of Dragunity Glow. So this one allows you to search a level 5 or higher Dragunity monster. And then it also has an effect where you can banish from the grave to special summon a monster that's in your spell and trap zone. That doesn't come up too often. It's mainly for the search effect, but having that flexibility there is really nice. Next, 2 copies of Dragunity Whirlwind, and I'll also go ahead and talk about the 1 copy of Dragunity Draft. So, Whirlwind, basically if only your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon a Dragunity tuner and a non-tuner straight from your deck with their effects negated. And then, if your opponent controls a monster special summon from the extra deck, you can immediately synchro. So this is nice for when you're having to go second, or you can also set it if your opponent is able to clear your board, so you can have some sort of defense. Dragunity Draft, when it's activated, you get to put a level 4 Dragunity monster from your graveyard back into your hand. So this is a way to recycle things like Ducks, Senatus, things like that. And then it also makes it to where if your Dragunity monster, if your high-level Dragunity monster attacks, then it's unaffected by your opponent's card effects till the end of the damage step, so that's really nice, just trying to OTK or break boards and do a lot of damage. Next, 2 copies of Dragunity Divine Lance. So, this can only be equipped to a Dragunity monster, it gains attack equal to its level times 100, and is unaffected by all trap effects, including your own. So, I'll explain why that part is important later. And then during the main phase, you can equip a Dragon-type Dragunity tuner to the card as if it were equipped by its own effect. So, and that's where Brandistock comes in, the double attacker, because, like, say you have one of your level 10 synchros, you equip this card to it, it becomes 4,300 attack. Then you equip this from the deck, you now have a 4,300 attack monster that is unaffected by trap effects that can attack twice. So, yeah, scary stuff. Next, moving on to the trap cards, I do have 1 Jar of Avarice. Since this deck does do a lot of searching and dumping, being able to recycle some resources is very nice. Dragunity Legion, running 1 of this. So basically, this is just a kind of card that you can use. You don't necessarily have to, but you can. So basically, you can equip a Dragunity monster from your graveyard to a card you control, which is also good if you happen to draw the Brandistock. You can use this to equip it from the graveyard. Or you can special summon a Dragunity monster in your spell and trap zone. So, basically this is just another way to further your advantage if you need to. And then finally, 3 copies of Dragunity Oubliette. So this is the counter trap card. So when your opponent activates a spell or trap card where you control Dragunity Synchro, you can negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. And then you can make a level 10 Dragunity monster you control, or excuse me, if you have a level 10 Dragunity monster on your field, you can have a Dragunity monster you control gain 100 attack for each face-up banished card. So basically, and the reason I mentioned the unaffected by trap effects, including your own, with the equip spell was because if you choose the equip monster, it will not gain the attack boost off of this card's effect. But having the negation's nice. You know, typically you want to try to go first, set up, you know, your red bears for negation. So, yeah. So next, we're going to go on to the extra deck now. 2 copies of Romulus. Of course, when it's link summoned, you get to search a Dragunity spell or trap or a Dragon Ravine. That's basically all you use it for. You don't really use the other effect. 1 Dragunity Knight Lewin. So this one, it's a Synchro Tuner, so it's a level 6 Synchro Tuner. So you do have the option to make this if you want. And then if it's sent to the grave, then you can target a Dragunity monster you control and equip this card to it, and it gains 1,000 attack and defense. So this is nice if you're able to use it. It's not like in the standard combo, but you can do it. It's just kind of a win more option. The main one you're going to be making is this guy, Dragunity Knight Vajrayana. So basically, when it's synchro summoned, you get to equip one of your tuners back from the graveyard to it, and then that, of course, will allow you to special summon it from the trap zone because that effect is not once per turn, and just synchro climb. Really fun. Next, I'm going to talk about these 2 guys here. So we have Dragunity Gaibolg and Gaidurg. So these are both level 6 synchros here. So basically, this one, it can pump itself up by banishing one of your winged beast monsters. And then this one, it allows you to search and then discard one. So you add 1, discard 1. So that's good for graveyard setup. Although if your opponent has Droll, that's really going to hurt. Next, the level 7s. We have Gormfalbar and Trident, each at 1. So Gormfalbar, it allows you to equip the Guizarm from the graveyard so you can synchro climb into one of your level 10s. Trident is a win more card, so basically you can send up to 3 cards you control to the grave to send an equal number of cards from your opponent's extra deck. You do get to look at it, so the knowledge is really nice. But depending on what you're playing against, that may actually backfire if they're playing something like Intis or Herald of Arclight. But being able to get rid of crucial one-ofs in like game 2 or 3 after you've already seen what they're going to do is really nice. Next, 1 copy of Dragunity Knight Barcha. So when this one is synchro summon, you get to equip any number of dragon-type monsters from your graveyard to it, and then it gains 300 attack for each. So this is just a way to... basically what we do is when Ascalon dies, we bring this out. So now it's another big body. So it's like, oh, I can't attack over that one too. And then they end, and then we use one of the equips, we special summon it, and then go to Romulus from there. But next, speak of the devil, we have 2 copies of Dragunity Knight Ascalon. So this is one of your level 10s. So you can banish a Dragunity monster from your graveyard to target a monster your opponent controls and banish it. That effect is not once per turn. And then if the synchro summon card and its owner's control is destroyed by an opponent's card, then you can special summon a Dragunity synchro monster with 3,000 or less attack from your extra deck and is treated as a synchro summon. So basically what I was alluding to earlier is if this guy dies, we bring out the Barcha and we equip all the dragons in our grave. And usually it's going to be like, you know, like 29, 32, somewhere in there at that point of the combo. So then they're probably not going to be able to beat over that too. And then we can, during our next turn, we can just start building our board back. Finally, 2 copies of Dragunity Knight Red Bear. So this guy, he's an Omni Negate for a monster. You can banish a Dragunity monster from the grave to negate a monster effect activation, and if you do, banish that card. And then, after damage calculation, if this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can banish that monster. And then, if the synchro summon card is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. So it's kind of the opposite of Ascalon. Ascalon is removal, and then recurring advantage when it dies, like it floats. A red bear is interruption and destruction when it dies. So they're kind of opposites there. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Again, I'm gonna apologize again for the camera work in this one. Like I said, my tripod is in a box somewhere, and I have no idea where it is, so I just had to use one hand on this. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. I hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Like, subscribe, vote on the logos poll, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time.